Hello everyone, this is Mr. Razak with another video, and today we'll be focusing on independent events. Independent events in probability are occurrences where the outcome of one event has absolutely no effect on the probability of another. Mathematically, two events A and B are independent if probability of A and B is equal to probability of A times by probability of B. Let's look at this example. The probability of flipping heads is a half. The probability of rolling a 6 is 1 over 6. Now, we've been asked to work out the probability of both occurring. That's probability of heads and 6. So this event is what we would say this is independent event, which means flipping heads and rolling a dice, they're both independent. So they both do not have any effect on each other. So it would be 1 over 2 times by 1 over 6, which is equal to 1 over 12. Let's look at another example. A game involves spinning a spinner. A player spins the spinner twice. Complete the tree diagram to represent the situation. Now, you can see over here that we are spinning this spinner twice. So that would be the probability of winning is 1 out of 6. Probability of losing is 5 out of 6. Now, the second time if we do it, the probability will not change because the second time we spin it has no effect on the first time we spin it. So they're both independent from each other. So this would be 1 over 6. And the probability of losing is still 5 over 6. And the same thing over here, 1 out of 6 and 5 out of 6. Now, once you have all your probabilities in a tree diagram, let's look at the part B. Part B is telling us work out the probability that the spinner lands on win both times. So that would be probability win both times, which is 1 over 6 times by 1 over 6. And that is equal to 1 out of 36. Let's look at part C. Part C asks us, a player wins a teddy if they land on win exactly once. So this is really important, exactly once. What is the probability that they win a teddy? So that would be, if I have to win exactly once, that means if I win in the first spinner, the second spinner, I must lose. That would be win, lose. And what if in the first spinner I lose, then the second spinner I must win. So it would be lose, win. Let's work out these probabilities. So probability of winning a teddy would be win and lose 1 over 6 times it by 5 over 6 plus 5 over 6 times by 1 over 6. So 5 over 6 times by 1 over 6. And let's work out these probabilities. 1 times 5 is equal to 5. 6 times 6 is equal to 36. Plus 5 times 1 is equal to 5. And 6 times 6 is equal to 36. Add the numerators, gives us 10 over 36. And that is my answer. You do not need to simplify in probabilities unless the question specifically asks you to. Okay, at this point, pause this video and try to do this question yourself. Okay, hopefully by now you have attempted this question. So let's look at this together. In a game, a fair coin is thrown and a fair 6-sided dice is rolled. And we have been asked to complete the probability tree diagram. So what you can see over here is that if a fair coin is thrown, then what we can say is that the probability of getting a head is 1 over 2. Probability of getting a tail is 1 over 2. Now, rolling a dice would be independent from throwing a coin. So the probability of getting a 6 would be 1 out of 6, and the probability of not a 6 is 5 out of 6. And again, it would be the exact same thing over here. So it's be 1 out of 6 and 5 out of 6. Part B asks me, a player wins the game if they throw heads and then roll a number 6. So you can see throwing heads is 1/2, and then rolling a 6 is 1/6. So that would be 1/2 times by 1/6, which is equal to 1/12. Okay, here's another question for you to try. So you can pause the video and give it a try. Okay, hopefully by now you've attempted the question. So let's look at it together. Shamil has a geography test and a history test. The probability that he passes his geography test is 0.35. The probability that he passes his history test is 0.9. Complete the probability tree diagram. As you can see, geography test is independent to the history test. So the probability of passing geography test would be 0.35, and failing would be 0.65. And for history, if passing is 0.9, then failing would be 0.1, and it would be the same thing over here, so 0.9 and 0.1. Then we'll go to part B. Part B is asking us work out the probability that Shamil passes only one of the tests. So one of the tests means, so there are two scenarios that we need to look at. The first scenario is if Shamil passes geography test, then history he must fail. So it would be 0.35 times by 0.1. And that would be equal to 0.035. And we can look at another situation. So another situation would be, what if Shamil fails geography test, then he must pass history test. So it would be 0.65 times it by 0.9. And that would be equal to 0.585. And then what you can do is you can add both of these probabilities together. So that would be 0.035 add 0.585, which is equal to 0.62. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or any feedback for me, then please leave it in the comment section below.